Welcome to the most mind-bending philosophical adventure you've ever experienced. Today, we're diving deep into the ultimate mystery: what is reality? How do we even begin to understand it?
Buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the brains of three of the most brilliant philosophers who ever lived, philosophers who basically tried to crack the code of existence itself.
Imagine reality as the most complex mind-blowing video game ever created. Our game masters today are philosophical rock stars Immanuel Kant, Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, and Martin Heidegger. These guys didn't just play the game of understanding reality, they completely rewrote the rule book.
Each of these philosophers is like a different kind of explorer, venturing into the uncharted territories of human consciousness and understanding.
Let's start with Immanuel Kant, the ultimate brain programmer of philosophy. Picture this: Kant is sitting in his study in 18th century Germany, basically realizing that everything we think we know about reality might be totally wrong.
Kant's big breakthrough was understanding that our minds aren't just passive cameras recording the world. Instead, they're active creators of our entire experience of reality.
It's like discovering that your brain isn't just receiving reality, it's generating it moment by moment, using built-in software that you can't even see.
Here's a mind-blowing analogy. Imagine you're wearing a pair of glasses that you can never take off. These aren't just any glasses, they completely change how you see everything. That's basically how Kant saw our minds.
Kant argued that we have these things called a priori categories, fancy philosophical speak for the pre-installed mental software that shapes every single thing we experience. Space, time, cause and effect, these aren't things we learn. They're hardwired into how our brain processes information.
Let's break this down with a super relatable example. When you see a pool ball hit another pool ball and make it move, you're not just seeing movement. Your brain automatically interprets that as cause and effect. You can't help but see the world this way. It's literally how your mental operating system works.
Most people think we just passively receive information about the world. Kant says, no. Your mind is a reality-generating machine that's constantly constructing your entire experience.
But here's where it gets even wilder. Kant believed that while our minds create our experience of reality, there's something beyond that, what he called Noumena, or the things in themselves. It's like there's a reality out there, but we can never directly experience it. We're always experiencing our brain's version of reality, not reality itself.
Imagine you're playing a video game. The game world feels real, but it's actually just a complex interpretation created by the game's programming. That's how Kant saw human perception. We're always experiencing the game version of reality, not the underlying code.
Now enter Hegel, our cosmic game designer of philosophy. If Kant is about understanding the mind software, Hegel is about understanding how that software evolves and develops over time.
Hegel introduced this absolutely bonkers concept called Geist, or spirit. And no, we're not talking about ghosts. We're talking about a kind of collective consciousness that's constantly growing, learning, and understanding itself.
Imagine reality as a massive, living, thinking organism that's constantly expanding and becoming more complex. It's like the entire universe is one giant learning machine, and human consciousness is its way of understanding itself.
Hegel's big philosophical superpower is something called the dialectic, which sounds complicated, but it's actually a super cool way of understanding how ideas develop and grow.
Think of the dialectic like a philosophical dance. You start with an idea, thesis. That idea meets its opposites, antithesis. And instead of just fighting, they create something totally new, a synthesis. It's like intellectual jazz improvisation.
Here's a real-world example. Imagine the idea of total freedom meets the idea of complete control. Instead of choosing one or the other, you create a more nuanced understanding of human agency that includes elements of both.
Hegel saw history itself as this incredible journey of consciousness leveling up. It's like humanity is playing the most complex role-playing game ever, constantly expanding its understanding and becoming more sophisticated.
Unlike Kant, who saw limits to human knowledge, Hegel believed we could progressively understand reality. He saw rationality not just as a human trait, but as the fundamental structure of reality itself.
Now enter Martin Heidegger, the Ribble philosopher, who basically says, forget all these complicated theories. Let's talk about the pure experience of existing.
Heidegger introduces this concept of Dasein, which basically means being there. He's not interested in abstract theories, but in how we actually experience being alive.
Imagine you're so caught up analyzing a sunset that you forget to actually watch the sunset. Heidegger would say you're missing the entire point of existence. For him, direct, lived experience is what matters most.
He's like the philosophical equivalent of a life coach, constantly saying, stop overthinking and start living.
Heidegger critiques traditional philosophy for treating existence like a theoretical problem to solve, instead of recognizing it as a mysterious, lived experience. It's like the difference between reading a manual about swimming versus actually jumping in the water and feeling the waves.
Modern science is making these philosophical ideas even more mind-blowing. Quantum mechanics is basically doing what these physics philosophers did to understanding reality.
Quantum mechanics reveals that at the tiniest levels, reality isn't fixed. Particles exist in multiple states simultaneously, and observation actually changes their behavior. It's like reality is a choose, your own adventure book, where the mere act of reading changes the story.
So now imagine our philosophers as quantum reality explorers. Kant would be mapping the cognitive software. Hegel would be tracking the evolutionary game of consciousness. Heidegger would be diving into the pure experience of quantum uncertainty.
Neuroscience is backing this up. We now know the brain doesn't just receive information, it actively constructs our perception. Your brain is constantly predicting and generating your experience of reality.
It's like your brain is a massive reality generating machine, creating your entire world moment by moment. And the craziest part, most of the time, you have no idea it's happening.
Each philosopher offers a different lens for understanding this mysterious process. Kant shows how our minds structure experience. Hegel reveals how collective consciousness evolves. Heidegger reminds us to actually live an experience.
Think of it like a reality survival guide. Kant gives you the map. Hegel shows you how the map is constantly changing. Heidegger tells you to put down the map and feel the terrain.
The key takeaway: reality is far more mysterious, dynamic, and incredible than we ever imagined. We're not passive observers. We're active participants in creating our understanding of the universe.
These philosophers aren't just talking about abstract ideas, they're offering revolutionary ways of understanding what it means to be human, to be conscious, to exist.
And the most beautiful part, the conversation is ongoing. Every generation reinterprets these ideas, adding new layers of understanding.
We started with 3 philosophers trying to understand reality, and we've ended up on a cosmic journey of consciousness, perception, and the pure mystery of existence.
Remember, philosophy isn't about finding definitive answers. It's about asking better questions and expanding our understanding.
Next time you look at the world, remember you're not just seeing reality, you're actively creating it with every moment of your existence. Join us next time on the Philosopherse, where we continue to explode your understanding of, well, everything.